All right, so we have one of the best traditions in college football taking place this weekend. It's the Army Navy game, and this year it's at Gillette Stadium, and Gillette Stadium is already sold out for this game. It's been such a rampant success, but in this video, I want to detail the history of this historic rivalry and why it's so successful. So, the rivalry started back in 1890. It was actually Army's first year as a program, and this was their first game ever against Navy. And Navy had been established for 11 years. They had started their program back in 1879. In this game, Navy won 24 to nothing, and the attendance for this game was only 1,500 people. The game took place at West Point, which is the home of Army. It's only about 2.5 hours south of my house, so I've been by that stadium a couple times, and I must say it looks pretty cool, especially sitting right there on the Hudson River. So attendance was 1,500 for the first game, but by the time the game in 1893 took place, attendance already increased to 10,000 fans, so that is a dramatic increase. By 1899, the Army-Navy game was hosted at Franklin Field in Philadelphia, and the attendance for that game was 25,000. So it started to become clear to both programs that this game, these two teams playing each other, is a success, and it's forming into a tradition that needs to be played every year. Soon, it expanded into even more cities, including New York, Chicago, Baltimore, and even out in Pasadena, California, which that was interesting. This rivalry it's so powerful because it symbolizes the power of sports. You've got two different branches of the military coming together and playing a game, but it's bigger than the game. The endeavors that they'll be pursuing after graduation are bigger than the game itself. And even though they're opposing each other on the fields, they are together as a unit, all under one umbrella, and that umbrella is the U.S. military. And that speaks to why this rivalry has been so successful. It's the power of sports. It's part of the reason why people watch sports, is because you can't get a product like that anywhere else. And it serves as a mechanism to bring people together during trying times, during times of adversity. And this rivalry has done exactly that on several occasions. Let's talk about World War II, where many programs had suspended their operations because, well, quite frankly, men were getting drafted to go to the war. So there weren't enough college players to be playing, and we just had different focuses at that time. We were all in on World War II, but it was a scary time because anytime you're engaged in warfare, you may get attacked. You know, your husband, your father may be going off to another country and fighting, and it's a time of uncertainty. It's a time of angst. But Army and Navy did not succumb to that. Army and Navy continued to play their game because it was the right thing to do, because they knew it was going to bring people together in a time of adversity and a time of uncertainty. And in fact, in 1945, towards the end of the war, it was a number one versus number two matchup, something that you'd see with Ohio State and Michigan now. These two teams were number one and number two back in 1945, and it brought the nation together. People just sat and listened to this game, and it brought people together. You either cheered for Army, you cheered for Navy, and for a little bit of time, you forgot about what was going on in the world, and that's sports. No matter how big your problems may seem, no matter what tragedies are going on, no matter what adversity people are facing, sports can be like a little timeout for you. Sports can take you into this fantasy lands where you can just forget about all those problems. It's therapeutic and just enjoy the product on the field for 3 hours, and it's refreshing. And then you go back to those problems with a rejuvenated mindset. The Army-Navy game helped people do that. Another example, was right after the JFK assassination in 1963. It happened in November, on November 22nd, in Dallas, and this was a national tragedy. There are a lot of people mourning JFK's loss, and a lot of people just didn't have answers. People were just still in shock after what happened. But once again, the Army-Navy game served as a mechanism to bring people together. It was the final score. It was very entertaining. It was a 21-15 final score. It was the game kept people engaged, and once again, you forgot about what was happening. As bad of a tragedy as it was, you were able to take your mind off of the mourning, take your mind off of the sadness, off of the shock, and come together as a nation and enjoy a sporting event. That's powerful. That's Army-Navy. Another thing that was cool about that 1963 game, to add on to that, is that instant replay was invented during that game. It was tried out for the first time on television, and it had never been done before, and it was a wild success. As you see, we still have instant replay now. I just think that's cool that of all games, instant replay was invented during the Army-Navy game. And there's also a really cool tradition that takes place during the Army-Navy game where the president walks from one side of the field to the other. At halftime, he sits in the Army section for the first half of the Navy section, regardless of the year, or depending on the year. He walks from the Army section over to the Navy section. You can see him walking across the field. That's a pretty cool tradition. You don't get that tradition anywhere else. You barely ever get the president at your game unless it's, Alabama and LSU. But that's the rare exception. He does go to every Army-Navy game. So these are the amazing phenomenons of this rivalry. It's developed since that 1963 year, and into what it is. It's still played every year, and for some reason, everybody's eyeballs are still on it. The ticket sales. This game manages to sell out stadiums, regardless of location. Philly, New York, Chicago, Baltimore, Pasadena, they sell out stadiums. Now Gillette Stadium. You must ask yourself, why is that? Because there's only been 4 games since 1963 where both teams had winning records. So what's the draw? Well, I'll tell you what the draw is. You realize that this game is larger than life because on most Saturdays during college football, we watch teams battle, and they battle for victory. They battle for bragging rights. They battle for playoff position. They battle for a championship. In this game, you battle for bragging rights, but then the players go on and graduate to battle for their lives and to battle for our safety and security here in the United States of America. They're why this is still the greatest nation in the world, because those are the people that are protecting us. And you're watching the people that will be protecting you play a game. That's an honor. That's a privilege to watch that game. And you almost feel I almost feel small watching it sometimes. Because you get engaged, like, wow, what's going to happen here? It's 17-14 Navy. What's going to happen? And then Army scores a game-winning touchdown. And you're like, wow, that was an amazing game. And then you watch those post-game traditions, and it's like, man, these guys are going to be going, overseas. They're going to be deployed. They may go into warfare. But for those 60 minutes, they played that game with each other, and they left it all on the field. That's what's special about Army-Navy, is that it's larger than the game, and it's a testament to the power of sports. And that inherently is why it's so successful and why so many people lay their eyeballs on the game every year. So I can't wait for another rendition of this Army-Navy game this Saturday at Gillette Stadium. I hope it's a thriller. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to the Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.